the Friends of Eternal Team League, and the Tuesday Night Eternal Invitational. Hello, everyone, and welcome to FECast episode 61, the Friends of Eternal Team League. I am one of your hosts, Sunyveil, and as always, with me along for the ride is fellow Worlds competitor Stormblessed. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm a little tired. Just there might have been a Eternal sesh on the Discord yesterday, and me and Sunny stayed up late. He was playing Eternal, I was watching, and so we're both a little tired today.
Yeah, you want to tell the audience what that amazing deck we came up with at the end there? It's going to totally break the meta.
It was Combray garbage because it belongs in the garbage.
Yeah, we saw Monero, who is a very creative deck builder, playing a deck that just had all the hate cards, right? It had Grand Suppressor, it had the card that says you can't discard cards, and it had, what else? Teacher of Humility and Tokus. So we tried it out, and it wasn't very good, at least not our build. So that was interesting, and I'm okay moving on from it. But on the other hand, you did mention, as you mentioned, a late night Eternal session. That's been happening more and more lately in the Discord. So check the chat channels, the voice channels, late at night on West Coast time, and you might see some of us jamming games. So come hang out. So today was the big announcement for me, because I've been working on this for a while. This is the 2021 Friends of Eternal Team League. So I know that people are really passionate about their teams in Eternal, but there haven't been very many ways to compete, and this will hopefully give people a way to compete as teams. The link is in the description. You can check out all the rules, but the short of it is this is going to be a free entry with $1,000 prize pool, teams of 5. Points are going to be based on the 9 Eternal Opens that we have this season. The top 4 teams are going to make the playoffs, and signups are due March 19th. So if you're interested, you've got roughly 2 weeks to go ahead and get a squad together and go ahead and fill out the form to sign up. So the playoffs, most of this is just going to be built off of your scores in the Eternal Opens. It's not going to be actual people from teams playing each other unless they play each other in the tournament, but there are raised stakes if that happens. So it's just going to be scored kind of like a fantasy league for the first 9 weeks, and then once we have a top 4 in the standings after that, they will go to a playoff where it will be a pretty avant-garde playoff structure, I would like to say. It's going to be head-to-head alternating 1 game of Expedition and Throne. 5 different people on each team are going to play, and the team with the higher seed is going to start up 1-0, which is, well, I think that the people that do better during the larger sample size of games should start with an advantage when it comes to elimination. So that's where that's coming from. And if it goes down to the last match and the set is tied, it's going to be an ace match. So the best player on each team is going to have to play each other in a game, and the winner is going to win the match. Anyway, I'm really excited for this, both the regular season part of it and also the playoffs. I think the playoffs is going to be a lot of fun. I'll try to make sure that it's casted with reasonable production quality, and we're going to see which team is the best in Eternal.
Yeah, this all sounds excellent. I mean, I saw this and I was excited. I like the team aspect because teams are cool. I like the playoff aspect because playoffs are cool, and having this sort of fantasy element followed up by a sort of invitational style tournament with teams. We saw earlier with the TNE sort of team showcase that was very cool. Just seeing the 3v3s and having to do unified constructed, and this could end up being a very similar cool thing just because we're humans, we're social creatures, and we like to do things in groups, and this gives us a way to flex our group muscles. So I'm excited. I think it's going to be fun. I like just random fun things like this.
Who are the top 5 players on TBC? I'm really curious to see what your squad ends up being, because I know that there are a lot of good players on your team.
Yeah, so roughly speaking, you can pretty much assume there are three players that the TBC has agreed to start, right? Like that would be Collector, myself, and A Rank. People that made Worlds. They're like, yeah, maybe we should put the people that made Worlds, on the this fantasy league. Um, there was a voting process, and someone got fourth. They got the fourth most votes, and then it was a like six-way tie for fifth and sixth. We each got six votes. Picked six people we enjoyed. We thought we did the best, and then it was a six-way tie for fifth and sixth. So I think we're still ironing out teams specifically, but I thought that was really funny. There was just this massive tie.
Oh wow, so you already have your team sorted out. Like
Kind
I
of.
announced this earlier today. Wow, that's impressive.
Collector moved quickly. He's like, here's a poll. Vote in this poll.
All right. Well, the great thing about this is that you can have specialists for, like, say, if you have a draft
Yep.
specialist or something like that. There's going to be room on the bench and for people to just play the draft events, or for example, if they just play expedition or throne, whatever. So people are going to be able to rotate in whoever they need to from their roster in order to have their score counted for their match on each respective format.
Hmm.
So I think that's going to be pretty cool. We're going to see, the teams, what teams think of their own players and where they think they're the best, which is going to be, information that's going to be interesting information because, if anyone knows how good a player it is, it's probably the people that work with them day in and day out and on what format. So I think that's going to be super interesting. And I'm looking forward to seeing, what teams think of their own players.
Yeah, I think that the interesting thing about these fantasy leagues, I mean, I'm also going to include the more traditional FEFL, not just this team league, is that with the new style of tournaments where we have six constructed tournaments and three draft tournaments, suddenly draft matters for like team swapping, right? Because before it really kind of felt like there wasn't much reason to do any amount of team swap, right? Because like in the future there might be people that are more good at throne or expedition, but for the most part, people are going to be reasonable at both. So like, why bother swapping out in and out of your bench? But with this new worlds structure with draft involved, suddenly even these fantasy leagues even get more exciting, which is always cool to see movement on.
Yep. So it is free to play. All you have to do is have a group of 5 people that are willing to work together and be on this. No one person can be on multiple teams, of course. And one more rule that has been pretty controversial, but I'm going to defend it here, is the automatic victory rule. If a player on a team wins the entire tournament, wins the open, then their team wins their match regardless of points. And um, some people have been not happy about it. I mean, I guess it could be like the score could be 20 something to 8, but the 8 wins. But you know what? The folks on the other team had a chance to prevent that. They could have just, won the entire tournament. Anyone can win the tournament. It's not giving an advantage to any one person. And some of this comes from, like, as a card game player, I just, I'm looking for excitement. I'm looking for some chaos in my life. So I don't know. I think it's not going to come up very often, but I think when it does, it's going to be awesome and not as yeah. I think it's just going to be awesome.
I think it's fine too, just because if you think about it, if you were doing, I know that some people said that other fantasy leagues do things differently or whatever, or some minority do things the other way, but in a regular, let's say a physical sport, if you make like 7 goals in a European football game, and the opposing team gets 8 goals, does your 7 goals count? The person that got 8 still wins the match, right? If you're 1 point above the opposing team, it doesn't really matter how many points they got because your team still wins. So I don't know. I think there's pros and cons either side, and I think it's Sunny's. Well, it's Sunny's shindig, so he gets the final say. But I think it's defensible, and I think it's not terrible.
Yeah, I was about to say, if anyone really has a problem with it, the bottom line is, if you want to make your own team league and put up $1,000 to fund the prize pool, be my guest. But anyway, yes, $1,000 prize pools open to everyone. This is going to be awesome, or at least I definitely hope so. And I'm putting my money where my mouth is. So hopefully you all enjoy, and hopefully we're going to see some heated competition this season. Okay, let's talk about the tournament that's coming up this weekend. I mean, this is the pinnacle of competitive play before we have our first qualifying event, right? So this Saturday is going to be the Tuesday Night Eternal Showdown, and it starts at noon Eastern. Is that correct? Or is it 3 p.m. Eastern? I don't remember the time that starts.
It starts at noon Eastern, so that would be 9 a.m. for us West Coast folks. And as I stated last time, uh, I once again have the pleasure of casting TNE. In this case, I have the pleasure of casting the final Winter Invitational, which is super cool, especially because after this, the TNE is moving into becoming worlds relevant in a sense. Not a sense in a very real capacity. But this is sort of a prelude. This is going to be in honor of the recognition, right? They did a lot of good work, and this is like a celebration for the future. This is a celebration for now for everyone that put in all the effort to get here, and a celebration for the future, for the future of TNA to come. So I think it's going to be a good time. And in other news, we've also been told, I've been told, that there will be at some point an interview with developer BK Andrew Beckstrom about organized play in Eternal. So if you're interested in that, you can show up then, or maybe the VODs for the interview will go up. I don't know exactly how the VODs structure is going to work for Telemocos, but yeah, so that's also going to be kind of cool, right? Because I can ask him some details, and hopefully he has some answers for questions like, will we ever get an All Art Torch? And will we actually have a draft event at Worlds itself? Two very important questions, crucial questions. Um, so I'm excited to cast this, and I'm excited to ask BK some questions about organized play.
Yeah, especially since draft is, I guess, a fifth of the qualifying. Well, I guess it's no, it's 3 out of 12, so a fourth really of the qualifying rounds, more or less. I don't know. It depends on what happens with the last chance and people that make top fours. But with draft being such a big part of the qualification this year, yeah, it'll be really interesting to see if there is a draft portion. That would be super cool. I would love that.
Oh yeah, because someone can qualify with draft if all they do is get if they get two top fours in a draft event in two draft tournaments and 2 out of the 3, then they technically qualified for Worlds with draft even without winning the draft tournament, right? That's funny.
Yeah. Yeah, that should be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to tuning in. It also has we talked about this last week, but it has some really good players. There's several people that played at Worlds, and a lot of players that you wouldn't be surprised to see at Worlds. Here are the players and their pairings for the first round for Saturday. We have Apple Chips versus Mail, The Overmaster versus Ceres, Bottled Gin versus Spifferific, Ip Longno versus Doc28, Stormguard 798 versus Colacoma, Ash Acer versus Prakalakin, Yurku versus WSG Ron, and The Boxer versus the Burgund. So, yeah, lots of good players in that list, and there's plenty of good matchups. I can't wait.
Yeah, 100%. So to sort of segue on from that, we have 16 players all competing at a moderately high level, and so we should expect to see some people bringing out some good decks. So Sunny, what decks? So we have two formats actually. So they're doing it similar to World style, where I believe it starts out with sort of Swiss rounds in Expedition, then goes on to a top 8 in Throne. But I could get that backwards. I don't remember off the top of my head specifically. So we have both formats up for grabs here with both formats in play. And so, Sunny, what are some decks you might expect to see from these 16 players?
So I can only speak to Throne because I haven't really been playing any Expedition lately, because the current Expedition format is not terribly relevant for Worlds qualification. But I have been playing a lot of Throne, so decks, old standbys like Kira and Elysian are still very good. Monofire, I think, is also very good. There's a few playable film decks that are like maybe not great, but like old ones like the mid-range deck or at any cost. But they are capable of winning in the right metagame. There's also a new film deck that is very popular. It's film even mill even film mill. I don't know what to call it. There are a lot of different builds with it, as you might imagine. Like even decks can be built in a lot of different ways, but basically you've got even-handed golem, fell rock, and a bunch of ways to discard fell rock, and you've got the shadow grafter. I don't know what grafter it is, but it's a 2-drop 2/2 regen.
Vine Grafter.
Yeah, so you pay 3 to trade a card with your market. And that has been really good, just being something that can block pretty well, because the first time it blocks, it doesn't take damage, and it's also difficult to remove because of regen. And it gives you better market access than anything else that you could have done previously in even-handed golem deck. So I think that deck's pretty good. The builds range greatly. Some are like really heavy on the mill plan, which I don't think is where you want to be, but I think that like even Feln is going to be a force to be reckoned with.
You actually think even Feln is good?
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
I mean, it's hard to keep the deck down. It draws a ton of cards. It plays Fel Rocks for free. It has access to enough different cards that are really powerful that you can recoup the loss, and it's flexible enough with access to the market that, you know, it's not just a one-trick pony. So, yeah, I think that deck's good.
I'm probably just underestimating Felrock again. You always, no matter how good Felrock is, you're probably underestimating it. It's just a very powerful card.
Yeah. I've also seen a lot of like Xenon Reanimator that's still pretty big, and even Xenon decks. I have not seen very many Justice decks. I've seen some people try to play Vision Value, but I haven't been too thrilled by it. I guess Stone Scar still exists in some capacity, but I mean, that's always going to be true in Eternal.
Yeah, so on the other side, I can speak about Expedition a little bit. You know, even though that's not a world relevant right now, my expectation is that we're hopefully getting a new set soon called Storm something. Not gonna say the final word. It involves a storm though, that's for sure.
Storm Break?
Stormblessed. Stormblessed the set. Um,
Storm Break. You
anyways,
kept on saying Storm Beak. I remember
yeah,
that.
I do
Okay.
remember that part.
All
But
right.
anyways, I'm not. You can't get me to say either of those terms. Anyways, so
All
this
right.
new set coming up, theoretically, hypothetically, supposedly, hopefully, means that I'm not sure how things are gonna, if things are gonna change. If it's a large set, then that could impact throwing a lot. If it's a small set, won't impact as much, obviously. But I don't know. And also, I'm just sort of enjoying Expedition a lot right now, so I've just been sort of jamming that when I play my Eternal. And so there's a lot of good decks in Expedition. So decks you might expect TNE Invitational though. Tesseract. Tesseract has had a resurgence. There's a Stone Scar tokens list that's very good, involving Dark Purveyor, where you can just you fill up your graveyard. You mean something discussed when we were discussing the cards and the spoilers. It's good. It's good relatively early, and it's good relatively late. It's got value on both sides, and so you also just dome people for like 20 out of nowhere by just your void has 13 units in it plus 13, hit them.
You know, it makes me like unreasonably happy that Dark Purveyor has made it in constructed. I don't know why. I was just like really rooting for that card.
Yeah, I think it's cool that it made it too. And then other good standbys. Combre I think is always a solid deck, and I wouldn't be surprised to see it. Maybe someone will try an Elysian or Vision Value for whatever. They always keep trying these in X-Men. The various extent, various effect. What are some other good decks? Oh yeah, obviously. Wait, I forgot the janitor in the room, so to speak, janitor David and his soldier friends. Um, so I definitely expect to see some amount of soldiers there, and I think those are sort of the highlights of Expedition. I mean, there's like Xenon mid range, Mandrakes, some classic standby Sentinels, but I think those are the decks that I think have the strongest chance. Although Valkyries, some sort of Argenport list doing something, either time, fire, or by itself. They're all pretty much Argenport. And yeah, then you got your tribal stuff. So maybe we'll see Grenadins. Probably not, but we won't see Grenadins. I'd wager that we wouldn't see Grenadins at this TD Invitational. So yeah, so Exped's a lot of fun. I'd recommend checking out Exped.
All right, moving on. For those of you looking forward to the dates that you'll have to know if you're trying to qualify for Worlds 2021, Tuesday Night Eternal is going to start back up with its spring season on March 12th. This is a Friday at 5 p.m. UTC, which is 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And it's going to be a Throne tournament. We're going to have Throne on Friday, and then the next Tuesday, which is March 16th, at 7 p.m. Eastern. So we'll link the full schedule so that you can take a look at it yourself. I know it is kind of confusing because these are tournaments on weekdays and at different times for the Fridays and the Tuesdays, although all the Friday tournaments are at the same time as each other and all the Tuesdays are going to be at the same age as each other. And those tournaments are going to be once every 2 weeks, culminating in the Spring Invitational on Saturday, June 5th.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting how quickly things are heating up for going to Worlds, right? It's not just the March 26th time point of the Throne Open. We also starting in roughly a week, 8 days from when day of this recording, at least 7 from the time of you listening. Uh, TNE starts up March 12th, which is apparently around daylight savings time. So make note of that for those of you who are either in a world that has daylight savings time or not in a world that has daylight savings time. You lucky dogs, you. Yeah, I hope to see some of you there. It should be a blast. And I hope to be casting some of these as well. Let's see if Telmokos brings me back on.
Well, here's the thing. You got to win an open, and then you're free to just cast all these. Then you don't have to worry.
See, the thing is that like depending on the day or whatever. I don't even know where I was with that. I had a thought. I almost had a train of thought, and then it like died on me, and I was like, you know what? Whatever. I don't have a train of thought anymore.
Riding this train all the way until it crashes.
Choo choo! Bam! Just driving into the
Oh
brick
my
wall,
goodness.
and then I
Okay,
hit the
the
brick
other
wall,
date
and then I don't stop. I just keep going. I just keep plowing through the wall. Just like if I keep going hard enough, I'll eventually make it through. I'll get through that wall. Okay, I'm done.
Okay. All right. So, the other date that is going to be really important is the first ECQ, which is 3 weeks from tomorrow, time of recording. That's going to be on March 26th. The day one in quotations, I guess, in shock quotations, the 28 games that you have to play in order to qualify for the elimination rounds. That's going to start on Friday, March 26th, and go to Saturday, March 27th, as it always does. And hopefully we'll have a new set before then. I mean, I think we pretty much expect to at this point, right? It's not entirely clear, but it seems like that's what they're trying to set us up for.
I wasn't paying attention. Is the current chapter called Storm somethings?
Yes, it is.
That is the new league though, so
Yeah, I wonder if they're giving out packs of the new set later in the league, because they've definitely done that before. I
that's
don't know
true.
if you remember. Yeah, like they'll have a league and then the last 2 packs will be of the new set, which I think is actually like a really good marketing strategy. No, this one says that the week 4 packs are 2x Empire of Glass. So yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it sounded like there was supposed to be a new set, but the league is called. Although I think the other chapters were also called what the set name was when that set came out. So who can say? Only Direwolf can, and maybe they will.
Yeah, and if we wait long enough, we'll figure it out for sure. All right. I mean, do we have any predictions for Tuesday Night Eternal or the new season of Eternal competitive play? I mean, this was after last week's cast, but we decided that Collector was going to win the first 2 opens. Like we all agreed upon that, and then Stormblessed and Stormguard were going to have to battle it out for the draft open to try to claim the Storm themed title, I guess.
I think Keith Peleg is going to get a second place at some point. Seems likely,
Brutal.
and maybe we'll find out what CSB stands for, Team CSB, which as of this point they have decided to not disclose what it is. Currently, I think the front runner in the public consciousness is coming second. Basically, I believe is what Gallup said, and they were like, "That sounds good, but we don't know for sure."
Is that what Gallup said? I feel like someone on their team said that.
I thought Gallup said it, but I don't know. I could be mistaken. Somebody said it at some point, and then they were like, "That could be a thing," and it was like, "But is it a thing though?
Yeah.
You said it could be a thing. Is it actually a thing?"
Yeah. I'm hoping that we get a lot of insight into the various teams. I think we're going to get surprised. Like people that are active on Discords, I guess, might think that the team league will be a 2-team race between Team Rankstar and the Barbarian Camp, but I think we're going to get some surprises. I think this is going to be a lot more competitive than people think it is, and we'll be surprised by a squad that we haven't paid that much attention to up until this point.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised by either, especially if there's this incentive to making a team. You might find a group of 5 like-minded players, just being like, "Hey, can we come together? So I wouldn't be surprised by that end of the spectrum either. So now, mind you, I obviously think that TVC and Rankstar, well, especially TVC, I'm biased there, but I hope that my team does well. Obviously, I'm not gonna bet against myself.
Well, you probably do have more Worlds players than most teams will have.
But I mean, even teams like Team CSB, right? They have a bunch of great players. They came up late in the season last year, and I mean, they just were like, hey, put together a bunch of good players, and that's just how it works, right? You just get good players, and there are lots of good players out there. There's like 500 names on the Eternal History Project, I think. Upwards of 500 people that have ever made day 2 of an ECQ. So, there's lots of pickings to choose from, in a sense.
Yeah, plenty of people that are capable of taking down a tournament and scoring you that sweet, sweet automatic victory. All right, I think that pretty much wraps it up for today. Boy, I feel like my energy level is just pretty low because I'm tired, but there's a lot of stuff to be excited about in Eternal. In just about a week, we're going to have competitive tournaments that mean something for Worlds. How amazing is that? A week and a half, I'll probably be playing in one because, well, I can't play on the Friday ones, but I'll be able to play on the Tuesday ones, hopefully.
Yeah, I'm hoping I can play in a couple. I'll actually have to like make a Battlefly account or find my old Battlefly account, but
there's no L there. Like, it's just Battlefy.
The L is having to make an account for something.
All right. So, a huge thank you to all of our patrons at patreon.com. These folks help make FECast possible and support us every week. So, shout out to Preweben, Work Done Sun, Chamomile, Chrissier, D-Dub, and Yeast Out for their continued support of FECast. If you'd like to join them, go to patreon.com/Friends of Eternal. And also, thank you to our editor, who, after the monstrosity that was last week, is probably getting a pretty easy assignment this week. SRFS, also the tournament organizer for TNE, and also has a cool Eternal History Project spreadsheet that is going to get some interesting additions before too long. So look forward to that. All right, that's it. Thanks everyone for listening. We'll see you next week. I assume we're going to be on next week. We'll see you next week with, all the updates you need to know about the Eternal competitive season. All right, see you then. Wait. No. Until next time, we will see you in the friend zone.
There you go.
The Friends of Eternal Discord is the best place on the internet to get better at Eternal. We have players of all skill and experience levels all happy to help each other out on basically any aspect of their Eternal gameplay. And making all this possible is our generous patrons over at patreon.com. If you'd like to support FECast or Friends of Eternal, consider donating at patreon.com/Friends of Eternal. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, we'll see you in the friend zone.